Hello, my perceptive friends. This is Bevin Niemann, and I am coming to you on the first day of Mercury retrograde. And so, of course, as you probably know, when this time period that happens 4 times during the year comes up, you often see all kinds of fearful things out there on the internet, like, oh my gosh, it's going to be Mercury retrograde. Be careful, do this, do that. And I really decided some time ago that I don't want to get into that fear-based energy. I'm working to maintain my calm, my center, and I see these things like retrogrades where a planet appears to be moving backwards, even though it's not actually moving backwards, as an opportunity for us to explore, to deepen, oftentimes to slow down and to explore this part of ourselves. And so Mercury is the god of communication. It's the planet of communication. It rules technology, contracts, all of those kinds of things. And so in this time period, when usually communication is rapid, we're texting, we're on social media, we're commenting, we're doing this, we're doing that, sending emails, da 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 da. This gives us a chance to go, okay, we're going to calm down. We're going to be more mindful about what we're bringing forward into the world. Communication is a vibration. It ripples out. And so everything that we say, everything that we write, everything that we record matters. And so in this time period, I just go, things might take a little bit longer. We might need to explain ourselves a little bit deeper. We might have some misunderstandings about what is meant when we post something or when we say something to another. And that's okay. It's time for us to be really clear, to gain clarity. And so I wanted to get on and just encourage you to embrace Mercury retrograde instead of looking at it as a curse, as a bad thing, as everything's going to go wrong in my life. It was really funny because this morning I got on to create my weekly newsletter, and I'll put a link if you'd like to subscribe to that. I do focus particularly on empaths, lightworkers, and mystics and our journey and how to empower ourselves. So I got onto the software and I started to build it. And it was really glitchy, and it wouldn't let me send something, and it wouldn't let me copy and paste something. And I just went, okay, I'm going to slow down. I'm going to look at how I could do this a different way. One of the aspects that I've discovered about myself is that I am a Heyoka empath, and a Heyoka is a person who's born into the tribe who often does things sort of backwards from what everyone else does, who uses humor, satire, maybe even says things that are kind of triggering to other people sometimes, which actually opens up and allows them to evolve. And so I figured that this is a perfect opportunity to really express who I am as a Heyoka empath. And then right after I did my newsletter, I got onto a coaching call with a client, and we discovered that she is also a Heyoka empath. So it's all like coming full circle. You know how these synchronicities show up. So today I wanted to do a short reading on the first day of Mercury retrograde, what this particular time period will perhaps bring for you, what kind of messages and awarenesses do we need to have during this time. And generally speaking, I'll pull cards before we get on because I'm like, I don't want to shuffle and make people wait for all of that. But since this is retrograde, I decided to do it backwards for me. I know many readers actually do shuffle and pull cards on screen. So I'm going to do it that way today. And I'm going to use 2 decks. I'm going to use the 7 Oracle Energies deck by Colette Baron Reed. And then I'm going to use the Sacred Rebels deck as a clarifier. So let's pull 7 cards and just see. Whoa, these really wanted to come out. They flew all over the place. I'm going to take the ones that I can actually see. This is very interesting. So yeah, let's just ask for our spirit guides, angels, divine higher self, whatever you like to call it, to come forward today to provide us with information about what we need to learn, what we need to embody during this Mercury retrograde period. So let's just keep going here. We have 2 cards already. Thank you, Holy Ones, for allowing me to be a vessel for this work. There's number 3. Yeah. Okay, the message I'm receiving is to like start with this and then pull more as time goes on. So the first card that I want to share with you is feeling the world, right? Feeling the world. And the 1 and the 3 come to a 4, which this is collectively a numerology. The 4 is the year that the world is in, our collective society. Of course, we are all feeling immense and intense emotions right now. There's so much going on, so many things that are being brought up to the surface to be looked at, to be explored, to be healed. It doesn't surprise me that this is a Black woman who is holding the world in her hands, observing what's happening, observing this transformation that we're making to heal old inequities, places where we have not treated people of color from an equal standpoint. We have suppressed them, we have oppressed them, and things need to change. Things need to move into that space where every human being is treated with equal respect, equal rights, equal opportunities. She's looking, and what I'm receiving from this is that she's going, is it really going to change this time? And I've heard my friends who are people of color to say, is this really going to make a difference, everything that's happened? So the world right now is exploring, what does it mean? What is our shared humanity? What does it mean to be a human being? Who deserves what? Who deserves to have these things? Do we deserve to earn it, or do we deserve it just because of the fact that we're born? And I'm really passionate about this. This is also something that empaths really struggle with, feeling the world, feeling collective energy. And damn, it is really, really intense right now, particularly in the United States as we enter into election season. And yet there's stars here. There's visions for the future. There's a lot of light that's being extended and expanded. And this is because of the grid of empathic light workers and mystics who are all connecting, who are all doing these small things, putting out this small communication. I'm one of them. Every reader you see on YouTube is one of them. Every spiritual teacher, every person who feels called to call us up into a higher level of consciousness is bringing this particular energy here. So this is our 4 year, and we are working to build a new set of structures, a new stability. And Mercury retrograde is probably going to bring a lot of unearthing and a lot of communication about what this looks like for us. The next card that came up was Close Encounters, and I'll turn it up right so you can see. Right? So there's one butterfly that's in a cage, one that's sitting on the outside of that. They're looking at each other, but this is actually in reverse. This is actually in reverse. And the 10 would be a completion of a cycle, but we're not yet completing that cycle. We're not yet completing that cycle of either caging ourselves through our fears, through our own self-sabotage, caging each other through our attempts to take power over, to suppress, to literally put people in cages. There's this beautiful, beautiful giant butterfly, which is transformation, and there's one that is not able to fly free, one that is in this system, in this cage that we've built. And this cage is gold. It looks beautiful. It's like something you could put in your living room. Like, look, I have this specimen. But yet what we're intended to do is here. And we're not there yet. We're not there yet. Close Encounters also speaks to me of all that we're going through right now with COVID-19. With, knowing that we are one and the same, right? This butterfly and this butterfly are one and the same. And yet we wear these masks, and yet we can't touch, and yet we can't get within 6 feet or whatever that distance is from each other. And so it looks really beautiful and gilded on the outside, our society, and all the technological advancements and all the financial advancements and everything that we've made. And yet this one microscopic virus can actually keep us apart, that actually separates us in humanity. And it feels really strange and really odd right now to look at another human being and think, you could be dangerous to me, or I could be dangerous to you. I could give you something that could kill you. I mean, this is a really challenging aspect of living in the world right now. And it's a pretty intense time for us. We have some work to do here. Part of that work is moving forward on a spiritual level, right? So we have the royal you, right? This unfolding, this beautiful unfolding, and there's this glowing light in the center, this crown, right? This crown that's coming. This is really the crown chakra. This is really our opening to our own divinity, to understanding who we are. We are, yes, having a human experience. We're having a very human experience right now, and we will over the next 4 weeks. And yet there's a part of us that is spiritual royalty. And I don't mean that in the sense that we use royalty on the human plane. What I mean about that is that we are a divine soul. We are an eternal spark of source energy. And recognizing that about ourselves, recognizing that this is why we're here. We came here into this physical experience to express that through this physical vessel, through my human personality of Bevin, through your human personality. We came here to express that. So accepting and honoring our divinity, opening that crown chakra, letting that lotus fully blossom, and taking in and receiving those messages. Sometimes Mercury retrograde isn't so much about communicating out as it is listening in, as receiving in, receiving those divine downloads, those intuitive knowings. It really is about that. What's coming to me is it feels really important that I pick up these cards that have fallen. So I'm just going to pause the recording for just a moment and do that and come right back to you. Okay, I'm back, and I'm really glad that I picked them up because there were exactly 4, so that brings us to our 7. And the first one that I picked up was called Quieting the Mind, and it was actually in reverse, right? Quieting the mind. So we're talking about communication. We often think about communicating with another, back and forth, expressing opinions and ideas. But really, the deepest level of communication that we do on a regular basis is communicating with ourselves, right? We have these different personas within us, different voices, maybe our inner child, our inner parent, our inner joy, our inner critic. We have all these different aspects. We think about the past, we think about the future. We're processing what's going on right now in the present. And oftentimes we can get really overwhelmed, particularly highly sensitive and empathic people. We have depth of processing. We think about everything from all different angles and all different perspectives. This is a gift for us. And yet it can also be something that really drains us. If you think about it, and I realized this not too long ago, the human brain actually uses the majority of the nutrients and the food and everything we put in our body, our water and nutrients and everything. And if you are also a highly sensitive person who does depth of processing, meaning your brain is more active, more creating connections and looking for patterns, we can actually get drained from overthinking. It probably doesn't surprise you. This has probably happened to you many times. And so this Mercury retrograde period is an opportunity to learn how to quiet the mind. And you may think to me, you may say to me, Bevin, I don't have any idea how to do that. I don't know how to make it stop. One of the things that's really helpful for me in this process is just to acknowledge myself. When I have this thought process going and maybe I get on the hamster wheel and the same thought comes up or I'm replaying a potential conversation in my mind or a past conversation or a scenario and I'm thinking about this and thinking about that, I simply stop for a moment and I say to myself, I just want to acknowledge, wise mind, what you're bringing forward right now. I want to let you know that I'm listening, I'm paying attention. I want you to understand that I am willing to contemplate what is the lesson for me here? What am I trying to understand? What's underneath all of the surface thinking? What's down below? And as soon as I go into this place where I begin to acknowledge it rather than try to turn it off, it gets better immediately. I mean, just immediately gets better. This works really great if you're in bed and you cannot go to sleep. As I go, thank you for bringing that forward to my attention. Here's what I'm going to do about that right now. Or, I need to set that aside because I need to make breakfast, or I need to go to work, or I need to do this. Let's pick that back up at this time. And essentially what I realized about my mind is it just wants to be acknowledged. My body wants to be acknowledged. My mind wants to be acknowledged. My heart wants to be acknowledged. And as long as I'm doing that, it's when I'm ignoring it that it just keeps going, because the message gets louder and it gets more urgent. So Mercury retrograde is saying it's possible to create this relationship with your mind that is healthy, that is affirming, that's uplifting. It has great things to tell you, has lots of insight to share. So acknowledge it. And when you can actually sit and you can think, then do so. And when it's not the right timing, you can say, I'm going to write that down so we don't forget. I'm going to make a quick video for myself to just process what's coming through right now. And when we release that energy, right, that energy of the hamster wheel, then things start to get better. This is a part of us being tuned into earth magic, right, being grounded. You see this person has all of this beautiful ribbons of energy wrapping around, and yet the feet are strongly connected. There's a root, a magical root, all these stars, all these things dropping down into the earth. The earth is actually the transmuter of energy. We're not the transmuter of energy. We can do it. However, it's not healthy for us to transmute energy. It's not healthy. It's healthy for us to transmute our own energy. Let me put it that way. It's not healthy for us to transmute other people's energy. So when we feel overwhelmed by the world, by our mind, by whatever it is, getting our feet bare and on the ground. I have this beautiful moss that's right outside my door. I live on the north side of the building, and I love to just put my feet in the moss. I talk to it, I'm like, yes, thank you, my friend. And sometimes it's giving me energy and it's providing me with a release. And sometimes I'm actually giving it energy, right? And so getting into this earth magic, realizing that the earth has enormous consciousness, it has enormous wisdom to provide for us, and that we can be at one with it. You see the number one here, right? This is just a gorgeous energy where we can get into the oneness. Sometimes merging as empaths with other people can be confusing, can be overwhelming, can be draining. It is never that way when I do this with the earth. When I put my feet in the water, when I put my toes in the sand, when I feel a rock touching my bare skin, when I put my feet in the moss, it's never, ever confusing, draining. It's always uplifting. It's always grounding. This is something that's really important for us. We need to do it every single day. This and being in our own energy and being alone and scheduling alone time are two of the most important things that empaths can do, connecting with nature. So we have this card called Awakening Genius. Love it. It's beautiful. You see all this activation again at the crown. There's a sort of rainbow soul energy, right? Holding the frequency of unity on our planet. This actually came up in reverse, right? So it doesn't surprise me there's a lot of reversals since we're in Mercury retrograde. But just starting to recognize, what is my particular genius? A lot of times we don't want to ask ourselves this question. We're afraid of feeling superior. We're afraid of thinking we're special or we're more than someone else. Like empaths don't want to do that, right? Lightworkers don't want to do that. We do need to recognize our genius. Mercury retrograde invites us to really begin to understand, what are your strengths? What is it that you bring to this planet? There's a reason you came here. It's not just random, in my belief. You came here for a purpose. What is it? What kind of consciousness are you meant to spread? What sort of unity consciousness are you meant to hold? There's a lot of activation down here at the heart, all this coming forward. But right now this is in reverse because it's saying to us, we're not owning our own power from within as deeply as we need to. And that includes your voice. That includes your voice. Being able to speak up, being able to hold a strong opinion, even when others don't agree with you. Being able to say, this is what I stand for. This is part of our journey, is learning how to have that courage and that confidence. And then this next card is direct. It's a great big love, right? This is why we're here. Empaths have a huge heart. We have this huge, huge heart. We care deeply about everyone. We even care deeply about those who are not very kind, who are further on the narcissistic scale. Like we care about those who do things that are evil and wrong. Like we do even care for them. This is one of our greatest gifts. It means, though, that with this heart energy, we really need to be cognizant of how we're using this. Are we using this first to ensure that our own life is nurturing, uplifted, fulfilled? You see that this heart actually has wings, right? It has wings. There's something gorgeous just flowing out of the top of it. There's something beautiful that's rooting down into the earth. That's like it's coming up into the universe and down into the earth, just like we saw earlier in the Earth Magic card. This heart is first meant for you. You know, nurturing that part of yourself, making conscious choices about your life, things that uplift you, that expand you, that honor this part of yourself. If we don't do this first for ourselves, we don't have anything else to give to others. And then it's not like we have to hold a part of this back, but it's okay for us to say, I'm not giving as much, or I'm not giving here. We get to decide where we place this great big love, where we choose to embrace it, to embody it, to expand it out, to share it with others matters. And so this Mercury retrograde is inviting you to decide, consciously decide, where are you giving your heart? What are you lending your heart to? You know, it's so, so important. So these were 7 really powerful cards. And I just feel like we need 2 other cards from the Sacred Rebels deck. So thank you, Holy Ones. Please provide me with 2 messages. Okay, so what I'm getting here is just to cut the deck. Oh, something just fell out. Let's take a look at that. Yeah. Come to life. Sometimes as empaths, you know, we have tended to feel really overwhelmed by the world. Everything sort of got gray. We shut ourselves down. You can see she's not looking openly. She's got her head down. She's trying to contract her energy in. But a part of herself is now starting to open up. You see this part just opening. Her heart is opening. You see this raven here on her shoulder, which stands for our intuition. The monkey, which is sort of our inner fun, our inner child, holding this can of gold paint, and she's actually painting herself back into existence. It's time for us to do this. If you have been shut down, if the world has looked very grayscale for you, it is time for you to begin to paint yourself back into existence. That will look different for each sensitive soul that's out there. But this is what we're being encouraged to do, to find and listen to and trust that inner knowing, that little soft voice in our ear that says, here's the way to go. Here's the way to go. Sometimes it's a loud voice. Sometimes it sounds like a crowd, like, gah, gah. And sometimes it's really quiet. Finding our joy, our monkey, right? Finding our creativity. You see the butterflies, which are opening and beginning to flourish again. So it's time, my friends, for you to open and come back to life, to paint yourself back into life. Please, just one more message today for all of these wonderful, empathic and mystical, spiritual seeker souls. Here we are. It's the word that wants to be written, right? Look at all of this opening here. We had butterfly spirits in so much of this reading, so much being called forward right now about opening ourselves, about coming out of that chrysalis and becoming our full, brilliant selves. You see them just flying and vibrating. Here's all the beautiful vibrations coming right out of the third eye with the intuition. So tying back into the last card. You know, and yes, we've had times in the past where we were sad, where things were painful. But you see her in comparison to her, right? This is where we're just beginning to paint ourselves back into life. And here she is in full spectrum, full vibrancy, fully activated. And the word wants to be written. The word can be anything for you. It can be the way that you speak up in your family system. It can be the volunteer work that you do in your community. It can be the leadership that you provide in your workplace. It can be how you parent your children. It can be getting on and literally making a blog or making a video or starting to speak to others about your experiences. It is time for us to be heard. It's time for us to be heard. So I hope this was really helpful for you. I hope that it helps you to see Mercury retrograde as a gift rather than a curse, as an opportunity for you to expand your inner knowing of who you are, owning your gifts, your royal divinity, understanding that yes, we feel the world, but we have this great big love to give. And I'm going to deliberately and consciously choose where I give my heart, where I apply my gifts. I'm going to spend time every day connecting in with the earth, with nature, being grounded within myself. And I'm going to acknowledge my awakening genius. I'm going to begin using my voice, and I'm going to paint myself back into life. Thank you, my friends. I so appreciate you. You can find out about the decks that I use in the description box below. And you're also welcome to tune in and tap in to see if the community that I co-founded, 1 Million Empaths, might be the right space for you to meet other people like me, really tuned in, perceptive souls who are loving and nurturing and uplifting and supporting each other and growing together. We would love to have you come inside and check us out. Thank you so much, and namaste.